Forget saving up for a house. We would struggle to even just pay the rent in a lot of cases, or pay like average bills and stuff that were going on. Like that was a constant struggle and a thing that we would to deal with and try to figure out, okay, how we're going to make it work this month, how are things going to shape out, and saying some desperate prayers and listening to all the inspirational music you can, just hoping and praying for something to shake or something to change at the last second. And so those are things that have really shaped just the way that I see the world today. And I know for myself, there's no way that I could have gotten out of that funk or gotten out of those situations had it not been for me. Welcome to the Home Goals Podcast, the ultimate guide for turning your home goals into reality. I'm your host, Derek Thornton. Join us as we navigate the twists and turns of obtaining a home, where we offer expert tips, helping you avoid pitfalls, and championing your journey towards that cherished place to call home. In this week's episode, we're going to be shifting a bit more from kind of the educational standpoint that we often come from, and helping you learn more about what it takes to own a home and get ready for that process. But I want to focus more on just your general mindset and understanding what it takes to get to that point and try to achieve that obstacle. There's a lot of things that you're going to be dealing with, and I don't think anyone ever accurately prepares you for just the mental strain that it can take on people when they're trying to achieve these types of goals. And so I wanted to talk to you more about my own personal story and things that I want you to keep in mind when you're going through this process, when you're trying to achieve it. Nothing great was ever achieved because it was easy or because it was something that they didn't really have any obstacles that they had to overcome to get to that point. And I want you all to understand that to be the case as well. There were a lot of times in my own journey where I felt very much like I was alone, like there was no one else that was going through the same struggles or dealing with the same things I was dealing with. And so part of the reason I started this whole podcast in the first place was to offer some of that hope and to let you know that, hey, you aren't alone in some of those thoughts you may be thinking, and the discouragement that you may feel at certain stages of the game. Those are common things that you're going to feel. And I wanted to talk to some of that, right? It's just an overall just understanding contentment and what it takes for you to be satisfied with where you are in life. I don't know if you all are familiar with the Enneagrams. I'm an Enneagram 3, if that kind of gives you just a little bit of insight into my personality, right? I'm a 3. That's the achiever. That's the one that is always kind of a lot of their identity and their makeup is wrapped up into their achievements and the things that they succeed in life. And that's often what they're focused on. And so for me, it was always a issue, and it always has been and continues to be an issue where I'm always focused on what things have I achieved lately. And that's oftentimes where my kind of identity comes from. That's where my confidence comes from, is what have I achieved lately? What have I done that has helped me to succeed in a certain area? And if I haven't felt successful, then it's very difficult for me to kind of move forward in that particular field or in that area, because I'm constantly down on myself and thinking a lot of negative thoughts about where things lie. And so wanted to take time to kind of talk through some of that and kind of what got me to where I am today. I still, like, looking back on it, I don't know what inspired me really to get into this field, knowing that it would be a tremendous challenge, just kind of working completely off the commission basis and getting up and off the ground running when I didn't have any connections or anything like that in the industry. But I also know, too, that, I grew up as a pastor's kid, and that is a very difficult life, way more difficult than real estate has ever been. And seeing that kind of, I think, gave me the confidence to be able to at least give it a shot and to try it out. And there's been a ton of different highs and a lot of lows. I remember in 2018, I had one of my best years ever. And then 2019 had one of my worst years ever. 2022 had one of the best years ever. 2023 had one of my worst years ever. Like, it was just always been that, like, up and down, and you're constantly trying to figure out where you land and where things are going to happen. And I know there's a lot of hopelessness regarding home ownership in today's world, especially for my generation and younger. We are seeing the prices just getting further and further and further out of reach, and there's a lot of people wondering if it's ever going to happen, or if they should even bother dreaming that dream or having that goal when they look at what their paycheck is and when they look at what it takes to be able to purchase a home. The numbers just seem so astronomically out of whack that it's difficult for you to even get to the mindset of having a house. And so wanted to take time to talk through that and talk through some of the struggles that I've had dealing with that same nagging thought and that same struggle as well. There have been plenty of times, like I said, even when I think about like getting into the field and in the industry, there were so many times where the funds just were not there at all. Forget saving up for a house. We would struggle to even just pay the rent in a lot of cases, or pay like average bills and stuff that were going on. Like that was a constant struggle and a thing that we would have to deal with and try to figure out, okay, how we're going to make it work this month, how are things going to shape out, and saying some desperate prayers and listening to all the inspirational music you can, just hoping and praying for something to shake or something to change at the last second. And so those are things that have really shaped just the way that I see the world today. And I know for myself, there's no way that I could have gotten out of that funk or gotten out of those situations had it not been for my faith. When I first got into the real estate industry, they told us very clearly, like, hey guys, don't talk about your religion, don't talk about what you believe in, don't talk about your faith. Those are things that can risk alienating a certain segment of the population. And if you talk about those things, you're never going to be able to work with the people who are out there who may not believe what you believe, right? And so they said, like, hey, don't talk about that. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about all these different things that are hot button issues. And I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I have to talk about my faith because it truly is. If I told you that I made it to this point or made it out of those situations through anything other than God, I would be lying to you. Right. It is the sole thing that has helped me in those situations. Now, I'm not saying that if you get saved and give your life over to Christ, that you automatically are going to be able to get that house and get that job and you're just going to be rolling in money and everything's going to go smoothly. That is not the case at all. And I'm living proof of that. I've been saved the majority of my life and have had problems the majority of my life, right? If anything, there have been times where I'm like, hey, would it be better if I was just on the other side? Like if I wasn't saved, would things be better for me? That thought has crossed my mind on numerous occasions, right? So I'm not saying that there's a guarantee that you won't deal with the problems, but what I can say is that it has given me something to cling to in those moments, right? When everything is just swirling around and stuff like that, and you get to this deep, dark pit of just depression and anxiety and stress. One thing that has kept me from crossing over into the territory of thinking that I should just end it all or thinking that life's not worth living, the thing that has kept me in those moments has been my faith and being able to lean on that strong foundation and having something that I can turn to. If I didn't have that thing to turn to, who knows what would happen. I don't even want to imagine what that life would have been like. And I can always speak to that when there are other people who are struggling or dealing with certain things. I can always let them know, like, hey, this is what has worked for me. This is what has gotten me through many of the situations that I have dealt with. And I can honestly say that I don't have any regrets about believing those things or looking to Christ in those moments, because I wholeheartedly believe all the prayers that I have prayed in those desperate times, it has always been the same. It's been, hey, however you do this, make sure that you do it in a way that can only be explained by you. Right. However you pull me out of this situation or pull me out of this moment, make sure that you're the one that gets all the glory and all the credit. And when you look back over the way things have transpired over the years, whether it's just the relationships that I have, the friends that I've met, the people that I've known in my life, all these different things that have culminated to come together, there is no other explanation other than God intervening in my life. And so I would be remiss if I didn't take time to share that with you. I'm trying to get better about making sure that I share about that, because again, it truly is the thing that has made the greatest impact on my life. But even, like I said, going back to getting into the process of being able to buy a home and getting to purchase, where I liken it, like I said, like to a wedding planner, right? Where for years, it was 7 years before I was able to actually buy a home of my own. All right, and I think about like a wedding planner who's planning all these weddings, and they want to get married, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened for them, but they're still having to go through the process of helping everyone else have their happily ever after, or like start their happily ever after. That's not to say, obviously, that you have to be married to be a good wedding planner, but again, if that's something that that person desires, that was very much how I felt being in real estate, helping people on a regular basis buy and sell houses, but couldn't actually make it happen for myself, right? And it really caused a deep struggle within me because, again, you're celebrating, you're like, hey, this is closing day, this is awesome, you're helping them all, but then I'm like heading back to my apartment at the end of the day and thinking to myself, man, wish I could have had this work out. Another important thing that has been very instrumental in helping me along the way is just the practice of gratitude and being grateful for the things you have, and going so far as to even take it a step further and actually take time to write out the things that you are grateful for in your life. I have a notebook in my book bag, and I will write out. It's typically a list of three for the day, and I'll write out like three things, big or small, that I may be grateful for, right? And just say, hey, I'm grateful today that I woke up, or I'm grateful for my family. I try to make it different so that it's not the same generic things every single day, but again, it could be anything that happens out there. I'm grateful that my car started today, right? That I've had plenty of mornings where I went out and my car didn't start, right? And so like that has given me a deeper appreciation for the times when I go out and it does, right? Taking time to truly be thankful for all of those things. And if you write it down, you can actually go back and look back over those things, right? I've recently started to go through the process of journaling because I know that that can be a tremendous help as well in making sure that I can go back one day and look at like all the different struggles that I had, the stresses, the things that I was worried about. I can always go back and look and see, oh, that thing didn't take me out, or that thing didn't end it all. I still managed to make it past that point, right? And so even with the current stresses that I'm dealing with now, like I take time to, or I'm getting back into the practice of journaling so that I make sure that I can one day look back on those things and see very clearly how I was able to make it through and have or give me that motivation and encouragement to push back a little bit further. The other thing that I want to say too is I think that it is very important for you to take the time to treat everything you do with a spirit of excellence, right? Everything, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you've ever heard that quote before, that saying, and I believe that to be true, right? How you keep your house clean, how you keep your car, how you treat your wife, how you treat your significant other, or your kids. All those things matter in the grand scheme of things. It may not seem like it, but they have a very real impact, right? If you are hoping and praying for more money, but you don't take the time to actually budget the money that you currently have, it's not like if that day ever does come, those funds are just going to fly right back out the window, right? You hear of all the people who win the lottery and then they're bankrupt a few years later because they never actually took the time to develop those necessary skills. Same thing goes with your relationships, right? Like I said, if you're single and you hope to be married someday, like if you're not taking care of yourself and learning how to love yourself in this time, when someone else comes along and you get in that relationship, it's going to be a difficult time because you're going to have difficulty trying to give something that you can't even receive or love on yourself, whatever. If you can't love yourself, it's going to be harder for you to receive that from someone else, right? And so all these different things that are happening, and it even goes on a practical side as well. If you have an apartment right now and you can't or you struggle to keep that apartment clean, it's likely that once you get a house, it's going to be harder for you to take care and maintain that house because, again, you're not doing those things right now. And so everything always comes together in a very unique way, whatever. So you have to make sure that you treat everything with that same spirit of excellence. I came in my office today and I was feeling very overwhelmed and stressed and anxious about all these different things going on. And if you looked at my desk, it was a perfect visual representation of how my mind felt in that moment, right? Very cluttered, very just all over the place, just complete chaos. And so the first thing I did was I said, okay, let me just do a deep clean and just get my desk organized and cleaned up. And that has helped tremendously, right? So like, again, all those little things that happen throughout the course of a day and the way that you interact or the way that you react to them, that has a very real impact on what's going on in your life, right? So just keep that in mind. And then last but not least, stop comparing yourself to those around you. They just released a report recently where they said the average age of homeowners in the country is 38. It's the highest it's ever been. But you wouldn't know that if you were looking at social media posts, right? Because you see posts where you might have people who maybe lived or been in a place where they are completely content, but they're not in a place where they feel proud to admit that that's where they are, right? It's very rare that you see the posts on different social media platforms where someone is bragging about the new apartment that they rented or this rental application that they just got approved. But you absolutely will see posts all the time of people talking about they purchased their first home and they had this great thing that happened to them. And so those are the situations, the moments where it's very easy for you to feel as if it's just you that's going through that situation, or it's just you that's struggling to get over the hump into that next area. Those are things that will change. But again, you have to learn how to be content and stop those comparison games. And that's really going to serve you greater than when you are in other situations where you feel like you've achieved that point, right? Because again, no matter what happens, no matter what you achieve, there's always going to be something more you feel like you could be getting, right? Like even with myself, my wife and I just the other day were talking about, oh man, like we would love to have a house that has a basement and then like a little bit more of a backyard and all this stuff. And we were just talking about like all these different things we want outside of what we currently have. Right. And if the 2015 version of myself had heard me talking just now, he would have wanted to smack me. He's like, hey, like you have this blessing of a house that you prayed for years. You finally got it. And now you're already thinking about the next best thing, right? The average person only lives in their house 5 to 7 years. And sometimes that may be extenuating circumstances, maybe a divorce or job relocation. But a lot of times it's just because people want a nicer house, right? Not because anything is wrong with their current house. They just want something better, right? They want something nicer. We're always looking for bigger and better. I don't think it's a coincidence that our generation just happens to be in a record-breaking debt, right? We have far more debt than the generations before us. Some of that could be because of inflation, but if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of it also has to do with the fact that we just want more stuff than other people have had, right? We have to have the latest phone. We have to have all the nice technology. We got to have all this nice places, whatever stuff that we can show off to those people who are around us. And so it's important for us to make sure that we truly have reached a point where we are content and satisfied and grateful for where we are now. Because if you're not grateful for what you have and where you are right now, when you get to the other side or when you achieve that home goal, you're going to be just as miserable or even more miserable than you were before. So hope that that's helpful for you all. Just wanted to take a quick moment to kind of take a break from the standard informational items we typically go over and do a little bit more digging on just where your headspace and where your mind is in this, because that's going to serve you greater than any other piece of knowledge that I can share with you. So I hope that you find that helpful. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next week.